I'm Shivangi Mehra, and I'll be your host today as we continue this exciting week of hands-on learning and skill building. I would like to remind you again that please use your first name in the chat and just say a hi to us, and let's remain respectful of the chat box. So, as we mark International Women's Day this month, Bootcamp Week reflects our commitment to advancing inclusion in AI. We are proud to create space for young people, particularly girls, to strengthen their technical skills and step confidently into leadership within emerging technologies. And first, I would like to say a big thank you to those who joined us yesterday and are back again today. Of course, you are a real MVPs here. So today we have a very special speaker, Humera Jahan, a fintech project manager, currently at Sage. She works at the intersection of people, systems, and AI. And coming from an ethnic minority and a neurodiverse background, she's deeply passionate about making careers in technology more inclusive, accessible, and simplified. And she'll be sharing her expertise today on using AI to explore careers, strengths, and possibilities. So please drop your questions in the Q&A box over the session and we'll take it up towards the end. So Humera, over to you.
Thank you, Shivangi. I'm just going to share my screen for the presentation. Just bear with me one moment. Go. Right, just to double check, that's on full screen at the moment, right? Okay, perfect. Right, so thank you, everyone. Honestly, it's an honor to be here to, present these options to you, and also for all of you to make the time to join the session. As Shivangi mentioned, those that have been repeat visitors, you are the real MVP, so well done. So just for today's session, it will be around how to use AI to basically design your own future, to have it in your control rather than let it out of your control like it has been for us millennials for eons, basically. I know my millennials will relate with me. So we'll basically use this to explore your careers, your strengths, your future, and the possibilities you can have. And what I basically would like so first I'll just introduce myself. So thank you, Shivangi, earlier for introducing me. So I work at Sage. I've been at Sage for about 9 years, almost 10 years now. And I've got a huge career behind me, including running my own business. So yeah, I was basically at my introduction. So what Shivangi mentioned earlier, I'm essentially passionate about making sure that we drive an inclusive workforce going forward to the future, mainly because of my own experiences and people around me of how difficult it is to be a woman and be from an ethnic minority background, and on top of that also being neurodivergent. So hopefully with this session, I can basically relieve some of that tension going forward for you, for all of you joining in across the globe. And also just to kind of like reiterate that you don't really need to be tech savvy, you don't really need to know coding to have a successful career within the tech space, basically. So what I would like you to take away from this session at the end of it is that you have a new way of thinking about your future, one that will basically work for you and not where you kind of feel like you are alone, or you feel so overwhelmed that you kind of feel like, you know, there's it's too much and there's so much that you need to do in such a short time. You're quite young, your children essentially So remind yourself of that and don't overwhelm yourself with the future. However, if there's anything that I can do right now to relieve that pressure, I will try and do that. So I also want to give you some actual practical AI prompts that you can actually use today at the back of the session. You can immediately go and try those out and just start exploring your career at this stage already. As I mentioned, I want you to give that confidence and that reassurance that, even at this point, if you don't know what you want to do for the future, that's all right. And you can still, you're still at the beginning. Most of you are not even at the beginning, you're before the beginning, actually. So, don't be afraid of the future, and you're actually at a very good stage where you can actually control the future. So, and I will talk about that more in a bit. I will also give you a bit of a starting point that will be more personal to you. And sorry, just bear with me. Let me just hide this. There we go. So it won't be like a generic approach that has been done so far, at least that's what we're used to. Now, a lot of you will have probably around either at school or when you're meeting other people, you're at a party, or even at home when you're meeting everybody for like a cultural event or a birthday party or anything like that. A lot of you will probably get the question, which is like, what do you want to be in the future? If you've got that, if you've had that question, put it in the chat. Just drop an emoji. How that made you feel, basically. And if any of you already know what you want to be, drop that in the chat as well. That would be great. Now, before I actually talk about the future, I kind of want to give you a bit of a background of how we actually landed here, how we actually got to this, got to where we are right now in terms of like the job searches. So there's been basically a bit of an evolution. I'll walk you through about a bit from my experiences. So there have been like 3 areas that I've experienced myself. The first basically was like I started my first job when I was like 15 or something like that. And at that point, I remember it was the way you got a job was basically you would just go around, you would go to the shopping center, you would go around to businesses. So you would just go to the companies themselves, and you would just walk into the reception or to the front desk or the cash points, and you or pain point, sorry, and then you would just ask them, hey, are you hiring at the moment? And most of them were, especially around the summer holidays. And they would hand you a form to just fill in your details, like your name, address details, those very simple, straightforward things, basically. And a bit around your experience, or you could even print out your CV if you had that, and then you could drop that off as well. And then oftentimes you would be called in for, or they would tell you immediately, like, okay, well, now you can go and, or they would immediately tell you that, can you come back in on this day at this time, and then we'll just do a bit of a conversation, just, your interview. And then you would be, you would come in, you would have that interview with that person. Oftentimes you would just be hired on the spot. That's basically been my experience in that first era, basically, where I would come in, have the conversation, and at the end of that, I would immediately know that whether I got the job, yes or no. So you wouldn't have to wait for eons for someone to get back to you and then go through that anxiety. So there was quite a human approach to it, but basically one-to-one. It wasn't too complicated. Then the second era basically arrived, which was where the internet had already arrived in the first era. However, the .coms started to become quite popular, so everybody started to have their own website. .com this. So Indeed.com, LinkedIn.com, those type of things. And that started kind of like booming quite a lot. And that's when things started changing a bit, because previously you could just go up to a recruiting agency similar to a company, and ask if they had any jobs. Similar with job centers, you would just go up to their job board, look at the papers on the board, and just take one with information and just apply. In the .com era, however, things changed in the sense that you when you came in either to the company or to a store or to the like the recruitment agencies, they immediately gave you like their business card, and that had their name number, and it also had the website, and they would tell you like, go on the website, fill in the form, register yourself, and we'll get back to you. Also, the CV started to be sent digitally, so coming in with your CV, it didn't really matter that much anymore. However, the recruiter would then still at the back of that meet with you in person. So even if you would register and fill in the form that you're looking for a certain job, they would then take in your details, review that, and then start looking for you, and also contact you just to kind of like meet with you in person to get a bit of an idea of like what you are like as a person. And there were a few more steps in the original one, but they would then tailor the job search towards you, and they would look at both the company and the person, whether both of them would be a fit for each other, and then come up with suggestions like, hey, I've got this job for you, what do you think? And then they would put you forward if you agreed with that. So it was still quite a good way of getting a job, landing a job, basically. Now, currently, we're in the third era, basically. Now, this is basically, I would say, it's the black hole, basically, of finding a job, or CVs, basically, where CVs go to die almost, in a sense. So what we're dealing with now is basically applicant tracking systems, which are the ATS systems. Where yes, you are going online, you're registering yourself, and you're putting your CV online, even when you're applying for jobs and all of that. It first is filtered out through the ATS, basically, where it will look at certain keywords according to the job, according to the company, or whatever they have put in. And then even with the integration with AI now, it's also kind of like thinking for its, making its own assumptions, and then filtering you out that way. So currently you're kind of like in this era where you're going online, you're filling in countless forms, you're doing all of these assessments. After you're actually filtered out by the AI system, there are tons of people that are applying for jobs and barely getting any responses, because recruiters are basically getting hundreds and hundreds of applications per job at the moment. It kind of feels like the system is a bit broken, and a lot of the adults of this generation know that. But don't worry, because you are the generation that can actually use that to your advantage, because you will be aware of it. We weren't. Now, yes, AI is kind of like being said that it's part of the problem, but if you use it, not being aware of it, you will be at a far better advantage than your previous generations will be and are. Now, this is the exciting part, basically, the way the future of work and the future of careers and all of that, that is changing. And that is where it basically is within your control. And that is basically where you can use it as an opportunity. So this isn't all doom and gloom, basically. There was a article or research done back in 2017 by Dell, I think. Now, this is highly debatable, but it was basically said that 85% of the jobs in the future that will be in the future, they don't exist yet. I think it was like 85, and it's debatable whether it's like 60% sometimes. There was also the World Economic Forum that did a published a recent article, I think, a couple of years ago, which was like where 39 to 38% of the skills that currently exist will become obsolete in the future because of AI, basically. However, you're basically the first generation that can actually build careers that don't even exist at this point in time yet. So use that to your advantage. Be aware of that and use that to your advantage, because the old ways, they don't work anymore. It's not like, you go to school, you go to high school, you go to college, you um, pick the subject, whichever came easiest to you, whichever was maybe pushed onto you. That happens quite a lot, where we're just basically dictated as kids by our adults that you should become a teacher, or you should become a pilot, whatever, or you should become a lawyer, those type of things. And then we just kind of like follow that journey into the future, where you would go into universities, or you would do a vocational study before that, or technical, and then some of those traditional paths, unfortunately, will not be existing in the future. So this is basically where you can actually use that to create something new. One of the things that within the workforce, within careers, that globally, actually, companies have been struggling with, or industries actually, even, is where women and minorities, be that ethnic minorities, or people that are neurodivergent, or people that are disabled physically, all of those different categories, they would basically be kind of boxed in a way where they only have, like, oftentimes they would only have like certain select careers that they could go for. However, that is changing now, and that will change and that will continue to change in the future, because the gap is drawn closer, basically. So you can basically be in charge of removing that gap. It might not be completely removed in the future, but you can certainly close that gap. Now, the other thing is that your career, it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific job title. It could be whatever your skill set is, your personal brand. You could build a portfolio of things that you've done or that you will be doing in the future, and capturing that in portfolio, or actually a business that you haven't really thought about at the moment. Now, before all of that, it is essential that you actually know yourself first. So before you actually go into any of the AI tools like ChatGPT or whatever, start with yourself. Start with a blank piece of paper, or even just have a conversation with yourself, and start thinking about the things like, first of all, what am I actually good at? So you're either at school, you're in college at the moment, or you're about to start university, or have already started. In those cases, look at what you've done so far at school. Have you volunteered yourself for I don't know, leading a project, or setting up an event, or organizing an event, or have you created something? Like, have you built an app, or have you just been experimenting with anything like that? Or have you even been at the school play or anything like that? So what are kind of like the things that you've done so far, that you feel like you're actually good at that? So those will basically be the skills and strength that basically are natural to you. Even if you haven't really been doing that in an official capacity, or oftentimes you think of those like side quests. So all of those side quests, the quests that you've done, think about those. Now, think about the things that you actually enjoy, because a lot of some of the things that you've done might be that you were just told that you have to do it. However, do you actually enjoy those? So start thinking about things that you actually enjoy, that generally actually motivate you, that you kind of feel like, I actually want to continue with this. But then also think about the things that you don't enjoy, because that is important as well. Now, when you create that overview for yourself, of what you like and what you don't like, it becomes essential in the future, because then you can kind of like do a bit of a trade-off. Like, do I actually want to, like, if there is a job where there are certain elements that you have to do that you don't really like, but you can do it, then you can basically do the trade-off of like, okay, the majority of the things, are those the things that I enjoy? And then you can just kind of go accept the things that you don't really enjoy, or you can actually look at it and go like, actually, that I really do not want to do that, even if everything else is fine. That's fine. Then you can make that decision for yourself, because you've already thought about that, and you've been objective about that thinking as well already. And it will come a lot more natural to you, because you've already been thinking about it. You don't have to think about it on the spot, because it's already there in your brain. Then one thing, which is quite important, is basically, what is the problem in the world that basically I find really annoying? Like, it could be anything, like washing the dishes, or having to hoover, or whatever, those type of things. Or is there anything even in the environment where you kind of feel like very passionate about it, where even with, I know we're talking about AI, and we're talking about the good sides of it, but there are, there's the ethics and responsibilities of that as well, where we're looking at what the damages, that some of the damages are, that can be done. So look into that, investigate that, if that is generally something that you feel passionate about. And that is also something that would kind of like be part of your North Star, essentially, for your future career. Now, previously, my experience basically at school and going forward was basically that, especially in school and college, was that this wasn't really what we were taught. What we were basically taught, well, taught is the wrong word. What we basically experienced was this career test. So I don't know whether they still do that, but it was basically where there was like a questionnaire. If you have done it, put it in the comments and tell me what you thought about it, because I'm curious. But my experience was basically that it would be a questionnaire, where you would just go through answering all these questions of like what you're like, and what you're about your soft skills, and what you find what you're a bit fearful of doing, like speaking up in public, those type of things. And then a lot of it kind of felt like very generic. So at the end of that, it would then kind of spit out a list of careers that it would basically tell you that this is what you should be doing. Mine basically spit out that you should be an artist. I can tell you I should not be an artist. So the thing was that it was completely irrelevant to what I enjoyed, what I was good at. Even to this day, I wouldn't say that that I would think about being an artist as a career, because I simply am not good at it. That's just a fact. So those are kind of like things where those traditional methods don't work anymore, especially with how things are changing with AI. So think about it in this way, instead of like, what are you good at, what do you enjoy, what don't you enjoy, and those type of things. Now, initially, at the beginning, I had alluded to this, that it shouldn't be traditionally a job, basically. So there are different pathways that you can basically go through. So the traditional is basically either you can have a job, or you don't. Not having a job, especially in this day and age, not having any income at all not having any income at all in any era would have been quite difficult, because you need money to survive. You need money to eat, pay your your rent or mortgage, those type of things, and even go to work. You need money for that. So that's basically the traditional pathway, where you would study, you would find a job, you would be within a team. There would be a structure that you could grow into, especially if you were with the right organization and having the right manager, the right support, and all of that. You can actually build a really good career path. However, there are other options as well. So one of them is basically having your own business. So you could build something from the ground up. I was 19 when I actually had my first business. I did that for about 5 years or something. It was a global business. I was very successful. And age isn't really a factor when it comes to that. You can basically start your own business at any point. If you're a minor, I would definitely encourage you to speak with your parents and get their buy-in, because they've got a lot of experience and a lot of skills that they could advise you on and help you build that business basically. So it is quite difficult. It is a bit more difficult than going the traditional route. It's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of hours, but it can be extremely rewarding basically. Now, another option is basically freelancing. So you basically look at what skills do you have, and what are you good at, those type of things, and you can kind of like start selling those skills. So start selling your skill set basically. Instead of having a full-fledged business, you could basically just like be, go into consulting, or you could, I don't know if the being a delivering newspapers as a teen, if that's still probably still happens, but I haven't seen those in quite a while. But those type of things is where you can just it's a small skill. You can start using that, and you can just start creating your own newsletter and start distributing that across your area where you live to your neighbors or whatever, those type of things. And then you could start marketing that online. You could have a blog, you could have a you could be a content creator, whatever, different options. The other thing, which is where I find is where you can actually have your career and your future in control, is that, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the jobs that will exist in the future, they don't exist yet. We don't even know what those jobs are going to be, because they will evolve from what they are now, or there will be completely new jobs that hadn't existed before. So you can actually use you as a person, using that format earlier. What you like, what you enjoy, what your purpose is, what you are passionate about, and then combine that as a package basically, and then use AI basically to help you brainstorm about that. Like, okay, what are the options for you? What are let it create new titles for you. Let it create new job roles for you. Let it create a new freelance skill set that you can market for. Or all of these different options exist. You can essentially, you're basically the generation that will actually create your own titles for the future. Now, some of the practical ways that you can use AI. So there are some prompts basically that you can actually use today already. So at the back of the session, later on in the day, tomorrow, during the week, whatever. These are a couple of things that you could use just to kind of like explore your, explore who you are, future careers, those type of things. So one of them is basically, I enjoy this, I'm good at so and so, and I care about this. So it could be anything like, I enjoy drawing Pokemon characters. I'm good at organizing, and I care about planting trees. Don't box yourself. Don't think about it as it needs to be perfect. Just anything. It can be as random as possible, as long as it's true, as long as it's you. And then ask it what type of careers or directions might suit me. And you can even give it a further prompt after that, which is create a role designed based on those skills and interests. So which is the second one basically, where you give it those set of interests and skill sets and all, And then ask it to just create a job title and description that basically combines all of that. And you don't necessarily have to do it one per like three like one skill set only. Just combine a few, whatever you can think of, just add that on, and just have a conversation with it back and forth. Just question it, be curious about it. Like if it suggests you something, ask it why it has make that suggestion, basically, of like, why did it tell you to become a content strategist, for instance. And also think about like the things, like don't think about it traditionally. So think about it with things that you do day in, day out. Like even the games that you enjoy playing, mention that. Like if you enjoy playing, I don't know, Fortnite, those type of games, just mention it there. If you enjoy FIFA, for instance, put that in. And also tell it why you enjoy it, because that will be essential. That will be crucial, basically. And then you can also use it to basically build your first CV. Now, this is basically where I would say, before you actually use AI for that, do it yourself first. So on your phone or on your laptop, whatever, open up a digital notepad, Word, whatever, and just draft up a CV. You don't need work experience, by the way, for this. You can just use whatever you've been doing, like even like if you play games, or how many hours you spend on that, what type of games you enjoy, what you're good at in those games. Just put those down. It's like, for instance, you're good at bringing your friend group together to organize a time of when everybody will be available to play that game. That is a skill. So those type of things, think about that. And put that down. Even if you don't know what the skill set is, just jot that down. And then once you've done that, then use AI basically to refine it. Put it into an AI tool and ask it to refine it, or use that brain dump of you to build it into a proper CV. And just compare that against what you had created in the beginning and what it has created with you, for you, basically. And then I would also highly encourage to do this with your your parents or your guardians, and just ask them to kind of like do it with them. Like if you have them involved in that whole process, they can also kind of like prompt you to think about the things that you're actually good at that you haven't really thought about. So that will be a good exercise, basically. But that will set you up for success now already, because you already have your first draft of your CV. And usually a lot of people don't really start building their CV until the point that they're actually looking for a job. So you'll be ahead of a lot of your peers, basically, if you do that tonight or this week or whatever. The other thing is that you can also use it to practice interviews. So those of you that are going for your first job and you have never had an interview, or you had an interview, it didn't really go well, you can even use it to kind of like prompt it to tell it like, okay, I'm going to interview to apply for working at the nearby cinema. This is the job description that they put down. This is my CV if you've already created that before, and ask it to interview you for that. And then it would just kind of like ask you questions, and then you just answer those questions, and then it can give you immediate feedback of how well you did, or how you can make your answer better based off your experiences, your skill sets, and those type of things. And it can give you frameworks, or even explain those frameworks. Like a lot of the interviews are based off the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, result. Also add in reflection at the end of that, because that's really good. So just practice it. Nobody's going to catch you out. It's just see it as a game, basically. And then the other thing is that you can do is like you can actually research any career, basically. So a lot of you will probably not know if there's like a lot of the adults in your life that have basically said that, you know, I do this in my day to day, I am so and so, but you don't really know what that actually means, what they actually do. Use the AI tool. Just ask it to show you what a typical day would look like in that career. So, for instance, an account manager. What does an account manager actually do? Ask it to give you an overview of, like, you know, what does an account manager do? Give me a outline of a full day or a full week, or give me the highlights of a full month, what an account manager would do, those type of things. And also look at, let's compare it to the future of, like, what are the skills that will be useful now and in the future? How can I combine this with AI? You know, those type of things. So don't just, these are just kind of like starting off prompts, but the idea is basically that you use this to continue in that conversation and build that into something that is worthwhile pursuing, whether that be a traditional job, freelancing your own job, or creating your own job role completely from scratch. Now, one of the main things that I would like to give to you is you have to be very responsible and ethical about the use of AI, basically. So I want you to be you know, be honest with it. So don't make up things, because AI generally makes up things as well, and it doesn't know whether you're telling the truth or whether you're lying. So in that's why it's essential that you actually feed it your genuine interest and your um, actual experiences that you've actually you know, you've actually lived, um, because if you make that up, the output of that will be something that will be completely unachievable, or it will definitely be harder to get that, basically. So you can experiment with it if you want to do like a fake scenario, just kind of like, if you're curious, that's fine. But be honest about that, that you're, you know, you're exploring that, but those are not your skill sets and experiences. Now, also make sure that you're using it as a collaborator rather than a ghostwriter. So with going back to that example of the CV, basically, where you are first building your own drafts, and then you are using AI to basically refine it or improve it or give you feedback even. Um, the main thing that I would tell you to be cautious about is basically data privacy. So make sure that you're not using any actual full names, school names, addresses, or anything that can actually identify you or someone else. You can use fictional names, fictional places, etc. If you get into that habit now already, it will be better for the future, especially with, you know, when you're entering in the workforce. If you've already built that habit, then that would be good because of compliance, like GDPR and those type of things. What I would say is, and I do this as well, is just use fictional names. It doesn't necessarily need to be like, if you are talking about Mandy, that you name it Leo. You can also just say, like, if there is a certain person, or you are a certain person, you can name, you know, you can name that person SpongeBob, Bluey, whatever. Just be creative about it. Honestly, I've done that. So, and it makes it a bit interesting as well, because it's kind of fun. But because you've named a certain character, you will remember that. So those are kind of like the things that you can use for that. Now, for the future, yes, AI is taking over quite a lot of things, as we discussed, as mentioned earlier. But the things that AI will not be able to take over are basically the relationships, the human relationships, the creativity, the emotional intelligence side, the soft skills, the cultural differences, the understanding of the different cultures. That is something that AI can't really replace. So what I would highly encourage you, especially because you're across the globe, I don't know whether you have the opportunity to connect with each other, but that would be a good thing. Connect with someone from across the globe and just, you know, ask them about their culture, ask them what they do in their day-to-day, what their day-to-day life looks like. That will give you a lot of insight that will help you a lot for the future. Trust me, it is a huge game changer, and it will put you ahead of your peers. Now, just as a final, as I mentioned, the yes, it is. A lot of people are talking about AI being scary and taking away a lot of jobs and all of that. But in my opinion, it is one of the biggest opportunities since the computer came in, internet came in. This is one of the biggest changes in the world, basically, because it touches upon everything. Where I feel that it will not just change the opportunities in terms of careers, business, and all of that for all of you, but also to close the gaps, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of like the genders, the ethnicities, neurodiversities, and all of that. It will basically level the playing field for quite a lot. It has done that for me as well, to be fair. So these are the tools already there. It is basically up to you now to learn about them, be intentional about how you want to use them, and be curious. You know, the world is your oyster. They say that, but it really is, and it really is for you, especially given AI now. So, what I would like you to do tonight is you've got those prompts. Use any one of them or use all of them, whatever you want to do, and just explore that and just see what it comes up with. Sit down with your parents or your guardians, and just ask them, like, involve them in that whole process, and just explore what your future might look like. And whatever you come up with now, it doesn't necessarily have to be what you do in 10, 15 years, because that will change. Because trust me, even the adults, they are still asking the same question every single day. What do I want to be when I grow up? Thank you all.
Thank you, Humera. That was such an insightful session. In fact, I learned myself a lot
You're
being a
welcome.
millennial. So I'm
Also,
sure
by the way,
I'll.
on those recruitment agencies, the ones that still operate the old way, when you sent your CV and they had a conversation to explore and then come up to, match you up with an actual job and career. If those still exist and you're watching this, please contact me.
No. So we'll move to the question and answers. Everyone, please just type in your questions. We already have received a lot of them. So, okay, I'll start with the first one. So, what are some examples of jobs which will still be around in future?
A lot. So one of the traditional ones, I would say, I'm a project manager. You're a project manager. Project managers are here to stay. However, their skill sets are going to change. So it won't be about the admin and all of that. The admin will be taken over by AI. So the status reports and all of that. However, the skill sets of bringing people together, be the glue in between each other, lead the team towards a single purpose for delivery, get everybody on the same page. Those type of things will still remain. And similar to construction industry is not going anywhere. That is still there. That will remain there. AI can't really take that over 100%. I would like to see that. But yeah, there are a lot of jobs that will still stay. Accountants will still be there. Sales, people that are in sales, that will still remain. Teachers, some of them might be taken over, but to be honest, a human teacher, what they can do, no AI can do that.
Absolutely. I think the second one is kind of related. Will architecture be dead? I think some of the teens were interested in being one in future. So,
Actually, architecture will actually increase, if anything, because be it the physical infrastructure, whether that be the technology industry where you've got the infrastructure there, even the AI infrastructures and those type of things, those will actually increase going forward, because it will be less about sitting down and coding everything, like even software engineers, for instance. So it won't be about sitting there and coding 24, like 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, or whatever, and just sitting behind your computer, just typing away. That will gradually reduce. However, it will be more about the logic behind it. Like, does this actually make sense? Like, for instance, in the real world, given architecture, for instance, can I just put a bridge on top of a road and just be done with it? No, you can't. So it's kind of like those type of things where we have to be the rational human behind it and the logical human behind it to give it those, to build that. Basically, AI can't do that really. It can do it to a certain extent, but you still need a human for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next one is interesting. What is a good age to start thinking about all this CV stuff?
Now, honestly, now. It doesn't matter. And that's the thing, like, I mentioned that earlier in the session, basically. So normally, people start thinking about building their first CV when they start going for their first job. I had my CV when I was 15, because I was going for a job basically at that point. But most of the people, they start that basically at the age of 18, 20, or 25, or even later, depending on when they complete their education, basically, or at what stage they are. So do it now. Even if you're 12, just do it. Like, you've got experience, you've done things at school, you've done things at home even. Use that. Build a CV with that.
Yeah, thank you. I hope it answered. I think, okay, the next one is also, I love the questions though. Is there
I know.
is there
I
a
was actually scared
job?
about the questions.
So is there a job that involves just reading whatever you want?
Yes, yes. So a editor. So even though AI is taking over like copywriting and stuff like that, where it is writing, actually, if you want to get into communication, that's actually quite a good idea. However, it won't be traditional like it used to be anymore. You need to be a bit smart about it. So I would say do your research, do your investigation, even use AI for it, about how you can actually get into that type of role that only involves reading, for instance, and what that can look like in the future, and then combine that with other things like your hobbies, what you enjoy day to day, and what you're passionate about.
Okay, thank you. Um, Another one is, how many cultures would you recommend someone to learn? Wow.
As many as you can. Uh, so I am, just to give a bit of an example of myself, I am, my parents were Indian and Pakistani, and I was born and raised in the Netherlands. Uh, my grandparents, a lot of them actually, and even my parents spent, well, my father actually grew up in the UK. And they also spent a lot of their time in the UK. And then at one point, they migrated over to the Netherlands, which is where me and my sisters were born, raised there. Now, because of that, I know the UK culture, I know the British culture to an extent. There are certain things that I still don't understand, I will never understand. But I know the Dutch culture, I know the Flemish culture, which is of Belgium. And I also know the Indian culture. I know the Pakistani culture because there are certain differences between them. And because of that, I also know different languages. I speak fluently. I speak about 5 languages or something, 4 or 5 languages, something like that. I already was speaking 4 languages or something like that, or 3 languages fluently when I was 5. Well, not fluently, but I was speaking, those languages and having conversation those different languages when I was 5. But also because I grew up in the Netherlands, there's a lot of people that are from Suriname. So that's how I got to know about the history about slavery, the VOC, those type of things. but also their culture, because it's kind of similar to the, my own ethnic background, some of their language that I picked up, but also, the Dutch culture, the foods, if anything, do it for the food.
Yeah, that's a strong motivation. Do it for the food,
Yeah,
probably.
or the one that said that they enjoy reading,
Yeah,
opening up yourself to other cultures that will give you so much to read. Different cultures, customs, traditions, but also different recipes that you can try out, you know?
right. Thank you. And moving to the next one. So are there any AI tools or platforms that teens can use today to better understand their strengths or interests? Like, do you have any recommendations on the platforms?
I would say don't get lost in the analysis paralysis, which is basically where you're continuously thinking about like which one is the best one. Start with anyone that you've got access to, free. If your parents have subscriptions to that, great. But there are free versions out there for everything. They're great. Use anyone. Use ChatGPT. With ChatGPT, I would give you a caveat that it makes up things quite a lot. It makes up its own resources, so be a bit careful about that one. However, if you are looking into something that you want to do factual research and all of that with resources cited, I would go for Perplexity.
Mhm.
If you want to use if you want to go like down the academic level, I think there's this rabbit AI or something like that, where you can actually feed it it will find research articles, academic papers, and you can even use it to kind of like research and compare and all of that. So those are different ones. Claude AI, I love it at the moment. I would highly recommend looking into what Claude is basically doing, because it's changing quite a lot. And if you can get onto that now, it will build your foundation for the future quite a lot.
Okay, thank you. The next one is, can AI help teens find small projects or activities that could help them test whether they would enjoy a certain career?
Yes. So I have actually been experimenting with this, mainly because I was kind of like curious about um, my own skill sets. I want to test myself basically as a project manager. So what I asked it to do was to um, do a project with me. So I basically gave it the prompt that create a fictional project, and I wanted it to test me on certain different things. So processes, documentation, those soft skills, and all of that. And it basically had that in memory, so to say. And then it gave me, it gave me a brief, and then it basically reacted based off what I would do. So I would then say, like, okay, these are the next actions I will take. This is an email I will write. Those type of things, and it will assess that, review that. So you don't have to go into that much detail. You can do that at a later stage if you're curious on just experimenting, exploring with it. But you can actually just go into it and just ask it to, hey, I'm looking to the person that said basically that I like to read. So go into the tool and tell it that you've been told about being an editor. What does a day in the life of an editor look like? Give me an outline of that, or play that fictional scenario as a game with you, where you are the editor and it will ask you what to do. You can do that as well. It's essentially a game.
Okay, that's helpful. And last question is, how did you become a project manager?
Ooh, how much time do you have? No, so I actually did my degree at a later stage. I graduated in 2024. I completed my degree in computer science honors, specializing in software engineering, basically. So it was a long 4 years, with a lot of tears, by the way. But towards the end of that the final half of that, I was basically exploring like what is my next step going to be like. Like I was actually going around connecting with people in the organization at Sage, where I was just kind of like having a chat with them, just asking them like, "Hey, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, so that's what I'm exploring." And that's how I basically came to like, I had done projects in the back in the past, and I did enjoy it. And I basically look at where my shortcomings are with the things I haven't done yet. And I basically used that to basically form my direction, which was in my case project management, because I didn't want to spend 10 years getting to a credible level as a software engineer. It would cost me quite a lot. So that's kind of like how I went into that.
Okay. That's actually lovely to know because I'm an engineer myself. So I could relate.
We should connect offline.
Yeah. And I'm sure, like, I think when so many attendees like wanted to be an engineer here, they commented in the beginning. I was like, wow, there is still some craze there. So,
That's good
anyhow,
because it's a lot of the jobs, they won't end, they will transform into something new.
yeah, absolutely.
So you still need to know the evolution of that, because if you know the past, if you know the present, you can control the future.
Mm,
Is
true.
that quote?
A really good one. All right. So that brings us to the end of today's session, and what an insightful session it has been. A huge thank you to you, Humera, for sharing such valuable insights and experiences with us today, and your guidance for using AI for careers and shaping our future will be incredibly useful to everyone here, and we are grateful to have had you with us throughout the session. Um, Again, as we mentioned earlier in our previous sessions, we have an offering for every single person on this call and watching live. You now have the opportunity to access AI Adventures All Access package with 25% if you sign up between now and a week from today. So this package gives you limitless access to a variety of courses covering AI, technology, and innovation, allowing you to build more, expand your knowledge, and even earn certifications across different areas. So please use the barcode on your screen to claim your discount. You can take a screenshot and make a note of it to redeem your offer. So Bootcamp Week continues tomorrow with more sessions full of learning and inspiration. Stay curious, keep building, and we look forward to seeing you back for the next session. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.